I'm sorry, it took a little longer. So, as we said, we finished Manahasiksa, splendid instructions to the mind by Raghunath Das Goswami. A prominent instruction was given, and to solidify those instructions, we will be dwelling from today. Trunad api shunichena, lower than the straw and the straight, the book written on this verse by Sri Srimad Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj. I had the fortune to get the kind association of Maharaj, and he was so humble when you meet him in person. But when he gave Bhagavatam class, he is like a lion, and there is no limit of time when Maharaj gave Bhagavatam class or any other classes. Very, very profound Acharya. It says in the beginning page, one who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, yet is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord, Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj. And there is a beautiful picture of Guru Govinda Maharaj. On the next page is a wonderful picture, smiling picture of Srila Prabhupada. And after that, beautiful, serious picture holding the books by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj picture. I think it would be nice to know what this book content is. I think it will give us more impetus to hear every day, not to miss anything, because this is so important that will solidify what we learn in Manahasiksa. So the content is forward, then the Mangalacharan, then introductions, Radharani's order. Then chapter 1 is Trunad api Sunichana, lower than the straw and the straight. Chapter 2, Taror iva Shahisnuna, as tolerant as a tree. Chapter 3, how to develop tolerance. Chapter 4, humility is needed. Chapter 5, Sharlata hi Vaishnavata, simplicity is Vaishnavism. Chapter 5. Chapter 6 is Kapatya, crookedness, the great stumbling block, as we have read. Chapter 7 is society without envy and vision for the ideal society. Chapter 8, the source of envy and intolerance. Very profound details has been given. I think you will be more than happy to hear this thing. Chapter 9, give up pride to develop Krishna Prem, as we seen in text number 7, same thing. Chapter 10 describes result of Krishna bhajan. What should we expect if we do real bhajan? And then chapter 11 describing the prema rasa, the loving mellows. So it is very, very nice book. If you can sincerely study this book, it will help us really to become a very staunch devotee. And our practice will give us so much, satisfaction in our life. So we will offer our humble obeisances at the desk of the Divine Lotus Feet of Sri Srimad Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj. And we pray at his lotus feet that by reading the book, please give us your mercy so we can imbibe those instructions for your pleasure. So we continue with the forward. These revised and expanded editions of Trunad Api Sunichena is a compilation of lectures delivered by Sri Srimad Gaur Govinda Swami, elaborating on his divine grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's purport to the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Prabhupada's purpose in forming the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is to create an exemplary society wherein there is no envy. Sri Srimad Gaur Govinda Swami, who embodied Trunad Api Sunichana Bhav, expertly described how to develop the mood of humility, tolerance, patience, and perseverance. And in this book, he teaches us how to behave in a Vaishnava society. One who is able to develop these qualities and who is always prepared to give all respect to others can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. However, as Srila Prabhupada has said in one of his purports, if a devotee thinks that he is very much advanced in devotional service, he is considered puffed up and unfit to sit beneath the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Unless one is humble and meek, one cannot qualify to sit at the lotus feet of the Lord. The more one advances spiritually, the more humble one becomes. Vaishnavas offer respect not only to the Supreme Lord and his direct representatives, but to all living beings. The greatest devotee, the Mahabhagavat, sees everyone except himself as a servant of Lord Shri Krishna. Please pardon me my coughing. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami writes in his Anubhasya that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the object of Vedanta philosophical research, has very kindly determined who is an appropriate candidate for study of Vedanta philosophy. The first qualification of such a candidate is expressed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sistastika prayers. Verse number 3, famous. Trunad api sunichena, toror iva sahistuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. One must be very humble and meek, more tolerant than a tree, and think himself lower than the grass. One should not claim respect for himself, but should be prepared to give all respect to others. One must have this qualification to be eligible to understand Vedic knowledge, profound instructions. So this is the essence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, and he taught this principle to all his devotees. Therefore, following the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one who preaches the glories of the Lord should be humbler than the grass and more tolerant than a tree. Because a preacher cannot live an easygoing life. Haribo. Indeed, a preacher must face many impediments. Not only is he sometimes cursed, but sometimes he must also suffer personal injury. For example, when Nityanand Prabhu went to preach Krishna consciousness to the two Rogis brothers, Jagai and Madai, they injured him and made his head bleed. But nevertheless, he tolerantly delivered the two rogues who became perfect Vaishnavas. This is the duty of a preacher. It is said that the beauty of a tapasvi or saintly person is forgiveness. There are many instances in the spiritual history of the world in which many saintly persons, although unnecessarily harassed, did not take action, although they could have done so. Sri Srimad Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj furthermore explain herein the importance of selecting our association, which is also very clearly explained by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Bhaktya Alok in the following way. Listen attentively. Quote, one should give up the association of dharmadadvich, they hypocritically devote with special care. Those who accept the external sign of dharma but do not actually follow dharma are called dharmadvajis. There are two types of dharmadvajis, the hypocrites and the fools, or the cheater and the cheated. Such hypocrisy in Jnanakanda and Karmakanda is also condemned. In devotional service, this hypocrisy ruins everything. Better associate with sense enjoyers, for in this whole world there is no worse association than the Dharmadvaji. The deceitful Dharmadvajis accept the sign of Dharma with a desire to cheat the world. And to fulfill their crooked desire, they cheat the foolish by helping them in their rascalism. Some of them become gurus and others become disciples. And by trickery, they accumulate wealth, women, false prestige, and material assets. If one gives up the association of crooked hypocrites, then he can honestly engage in devotional service. Honest worship is the only way to attain Krishna's mercy. I think we will finish this forward today. Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attains to that eternal kingdom. Very nice. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada described the surrendering process very nicely in his purport to this verse. Quote, the first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride, because the conditioned soul is puffed up thinking himself the Lord of the material nature. It is extremely difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not the Lord of the material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is free from delusions caused by pride, he can begin that process of surrender. Sri Srimad Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj, as a true follower of Srimati Mahaprabhu, Sriman Mahaprabhu, showed by example great humility, tolerance, patience, and perseverance in his service to the Lord. May his words and deeds be eternally engraved in our hearts. We offer our prostrated pranams over and over again to our most beloved Srila Gurudev, who descended to this material dreadful ocean of material existence to impart one and all with the absolute truth. I have read this book and I have really relished this book. The instructions is so powerful. May Krishna give us the strength to follow. Now we will dwell, as usual, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. We are on volume number 5, chapter number 2. No one listens to a poor man. I think there is a new episode, so we don't have to read anything. We can continue. This episode is from Mumbai, February 8, 1972. Prabhupada met with Mr. N and reiterated that he wanted to move on to the land as soon as Mr. N received the second 50,000 rupees. Mr. N stood firm on their agreement, and Prabhupada put the matter into the hands of his lawyer, Mr. D, for legal processing. Although Prabhupada was making all the managerial decisions, he wanted the GBC secretaries to take on the responsibility for these practical affairs. He thought it better to use his energy in writing and translating books. Quote, if you, GBC, do everything nicely, unquote, he told his secretary, Shyam Sundar, then my brain will not be taxed and I can utilize my time completely to produce further books. I can give you Vedas, Upanishad, Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, so many. There are so many devotional works in our line by the Goswamis. This administrative work is taking too much time. I could be discussing philosophy. My brain is being taxed day and night. Because of this, I'm neglecting my real work. Aside from directly managing the Indian projects, Prabhupada was answering as many as a dozen letters daily from devotees around the world. Good. Why do they keep writing, asking so many questions? He asked his secretary. Quote, the devotees prefer to ask you personally, Shyam Sundar said, because the JBC men don't always know the right answer. Quote, they know everything by now, Prabhupada replied. I have given you everything. If they don't know the answer, they can find in my books. Now I'm an old man. Let me settle down to philosophy. All day reading letters, doing business, all night signing letters. This is not right. I want to be free from these things. The GBC can do everything now. Unquote. But it wasn't possible. As soon as Prabhupada would sense that one of his devotees was being cheated, he would immediately become actively involved. And his disciple continued to write him regarding important business and managerial decisions. Nor would he discourage them. His desire for retirement and exclusive literary work remained, but it seems to be only a wishful thought, a dream. If ISKCON were to develop, then there seemed little scope for his retirement. After the meeting with Mr. N, Prabhupada prepared to leave for South India for a 5-day Pandal program in Madras. Also, his itinerary were visit to Calcutta, Mayapur, and Vrindavan. As he prepared to leave Bombay, he felt happy that ISKCON would soon occupy the new Juhu property, and he frequently spoke of his plans. ISKCON would erect a fabulous temple and form a cooperative housing society of devotees of Krishna, the first ISKCON city. Respectable man would purchase flat in ISKCON's high-rise condominium. Devotee would have to become expert to develop and operate such a complex, and as they become successful, they would introduce the same pattern in other cities. Businessmen and professional workers could live as devotees in a co-op society, housing their families and sending their children to an ISKCON school. Prabhupada repeatedly talked of constructing an international hotel, somewhat like a holiday inn, suitable for foreigners and traveling businessmen, yet reserving a floor for ISKCON life members who would receive free accommodations. The restaurant would be managed by expert Brahmana cooks who would prepare dozens of different preparations of sumptuous prasada. The deities Radha Ras Bihari would receive 52 offerings daily, and the prasadam would be distributed to residents and guests. To start things in the right direction, Prabhupada ordered the devotees to immediately arrange for a 10-day public festival on the new land. First, Brahmananda Swami should pay the agreed balance and move on to the land along with all the devotees and the deities Radha Rasbihari. Then they should prepare a big pandal tent and arrange a full program as they had previously in Bombay, in Calcutta, and in Delhi. Prabhupada wanted everything ready for his return in 2 weeks. Although, as Prabhupada would sometimes mention, in South India, the original Vedic culture was more intact. He had not been there in several years. Most of the great acharyas, Sankara, Ramanuja, and Madhava, had come from South India. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, during his own touring, had found South India especially favorable. Just after the Hare Krishna Pandal festival in Delhi, on the eve of Prabhupada's first tour of Vrindavan with his disciples back in November of 1971. What time it is? Okay. Achyutanand Swami, Brahmananda Swami, and Giriraj had volunteered to go to Madras to arrange a preaching program for Srila Prabhupada. When Achyutanand Swami had informed Prabhupada of the plan, Prabhupada had asked, "Oh, you are not going to Vrindavan with us?" Quote, "ISKCON is Vrindavan," Achyutanand Swami had replied. "Yes," Prabhupada has said, "my Guru Maharaj used to think like that. But which do you want us to do?" Giriraj has asked. "What is the better service?" "I want to put on Pandal in Madras," Prabhupada has replied. "That would be more pleasing." So this incident is continued in Madras, February 11, 1972. Prabhupada, accompanied by 20 disciples, arrived in Madras and immediately took part in a parade through the streets. The parade, led by a decorated elephant and a marching band, followed by the devotees' kirtan, featured Prabhupada riding in an old flower-colored American limousine. Prabhupada stayed as the guest of Mr. Balu, a Madras businessman, for 3 nights in the large hall packed with 5,000 people. Prabhupada lectured in English. One evening, he told a story from Chaitanya Charitamrita of an illiterate South Indian Brahmana whom Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recognized for his staunch devotion to his spiritual master and to the Bhagavad Gita. The next morning and each subsequent morning, the Hindu, one of the Madras' two leading newspapers, printed a full summary of Prabhupada's lecture. The other principal newspaper gave a more general account of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami's arrival and the parade with his Western followers. A large 3-day program was followed by a more select gathering sponsored by Mr. K. Veeraswamy, the Chief Justice of Madras. Attending the function were judges, lawyers, and other leading citizens of the city. Several thousands people gathered beneath the open pavilion as Prabhupada spoke about Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami of Vrindavan, who had given up their important government position to join the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Indirectly, Prabhupada was requesting all the attending leaders of Madras to join the Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada was aware that the audience, although respectful, was steeped in impersonalism, deep-seated conviction that impersonal Brahman was supreme and that all the Hindus' gods were equal manifestations of the One. And Prabhupada ended his talk by imploring his audience to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just to repeat, he said, quote, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unquote. His appeal was so urgent and humble that some members of the audience actually repeated aloud, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Hindu's editor and publisher, Mr. Kasturi, was in attendance, and he printed a detailed summary of Prabhupada's speech in the next day's newspaper. We have still some 4 minutes. We should continue. In addition to the usual news coverage, Srila Prabhupada held a press conference at a Madras hotel. Already happy with the press coverage, he appealed further to the roomful of reporters. So this incident is described by Giriraj Swami. Prabhupada wasn't speaking to them as if they were newspaper reporters. Usually a newspaper reporter has a stereotype idea of who he is. And you giving an interview, so you have your stereotype idea of who you are. And you answer his questions thinking of how it will be published. But I could see that Prabhupada was speaking to this reporter as spirit souls, as individual persons who are meant to be devotees of Krishna. Even though they were addressing him as newspaper reporter, he was answering them in a completely different way. He was encouraging them and saying, quote, this reporting that you have done is very nice. Krishna will bless you. Please help spread this movement, unquote. They were asking questions, thinking of his answer in terms of something to publish in the newspapers. But Prabhupada took it that they were spirit souls reaching out toward Krishna consciousness, and he answered in that way. Within a few days of Prabhupada's arrival, the whole city was feeling the presence of the Hare Krishna movement. Prabhupada scarcely slept, using the early morning hours for translating, even after his late night speaking engagement. He would go from place to place all day with great vitality, outdoing his young followers. Haribol. I think it's 6:54. We should stop here. We should be punctual, and devotees has other engagements. So before they leave, we would like to offer our humble obeisances and their faith by reciting the prayer. Vanchukalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So thank you very much, all of you, for remain steadfast. I have seen some more devotees